This network is devoted to the study of the unknown. Whenever possible, we use sworn statements from eyewitnesses who have chosen to come forward on their own accord. We acknowledge their testimonies as scientific evidence.
Tonight on the Ropen Network, deep in the fog-covered pines of southern New Jersey, whispers of the ancient terror still echo through the night. Locals have told the tale for centuries of a winged, cloven-hooved beast born of legend and fear, the Jersey Devil. For generations, this creature has haunted the Pine Barrens, a shadow in the treetops, a screech in the darkness, a mystery that refuses to die. Tonight we share accounts separating folklore from frightening reality. Also, we're joined by Lon Strickler, investigator and author of Phantoms and Monsters, whose research into winged humanoids from Mothman sightings to modern aerial encounters continues to challenge what we think we know about the skies above.
The enigmatic Jersey Devil and the accounts surrounding it. For decades, it's baffled cryptozoologists and folklorists alike. Tonight, we share some of those accounts and much more. Join us, and perhaps you too will believe.
Hidden within southern New Jersey lies the Pine Barrens. Over 1 million acres of dense forest, winding rivers, and forgotten towns. To outsiders, it's just wilderness. But to locals, it's a land steeped in history, isolation, and stories that refuse to fade. From colonial settlements swallowed by the woods to legends of devils, the Pine Barrens remain one of America's most mysterious landscapes, a place where nature, folklore, and the unknown quietly intersect. January 17th, 1909. The Pine Barrens of New Jersey were frozen and silent. Too silent. Officer James Sackville had walked these roads before. He knew the way the pines leaned inward, how the wind carried sound for miles, how the dark had a weight to it out here. But that night, something was wrong. The air felt tense, as if the woods itself were holding its breath. For days, reports had been pouring in. Strange tracks in the snow, animals mutilated, screams heard in the distance, described by some as the cry of a child, by others as something far worse. Newspapers had begun using a name most locals only whispered: the Jersey Devil. Sackville didn't believe in legends. He believed in law, order, and what his revolver could handle. Still, as he made his patrol near the outskirts of the Barrens, he couldn't ignore the feeling that he was being watched. Then, he heard it. A sharp, piercing scream cut through the trees. It wasn't human. Sackville stopped. The sound echoed again, closer this time. Slowly, he raised his light. its glow carving shapes out of the darkness. Snow crunched beneath his boots as he moved forward, every instinct telling him to turn back. That's when he saw it. Perched atop a low fence just ahead was a creature that did not belong to any world he knew. It stood 4 feet tall, with the body of a kangaroo or deer, thin and powerful. Its head was narrow and horse-like. The body was Baphomet-like in structure. From its back rose leathery wings, folded but unmistakable, and its legs, ending in cloven hooves, gripped the fence as if it weighed nothing at all. The Jersey Devil stared directly at him. For a moment, time stopped. Then the creature screamed again, louder, filled with rage or warning, and spread its wings. Sackville acted on instinct. He drew his revolver and fired. The shot rang through the barrens, echoing like a cannon blast. The bullet struck the creature, or so he thought, but it did not fall. Instead, it recoiled, hissed, and launched itself into the air with a powerful beat of its wings, snow swirling violently beneath it. The devil vanished into the trees, leaving only silence behind. Sackville stood frozen, heart pounding, revolver still raised. The forest slowly returned to stillness, as if nothing had happened at all. No blood, no tracks. Nothing to prove what he had seen, except the memory. Later, when he told his superiors, he did not embellish. He did not speculate. He simply said he encountered a winged creature, fired at it, and watched it escape into the Pine Barrens. Newspapers would soon explode with stories. Panic would spread. Schools would close. Armed posses would form. But Officer James Sackville never changed his account. Whatever he saw that night was real, and whatever screamed in the Pine Barrens in January of 1909 was still out there. New Jersey is a state rooted in history, industry, and folklore. Between its bustling cities and the quiet stretches of the Pine Barrens, the Jersey Devil lives in the minds of its people, a symbol of mystery and fear, amusement and pride. Ask a dozen New Jersey natives about the devil, and you'll hear 12 different stories. Some will laugh, calling it a campfire tale told to spook children. Others will swear that it's real, that their grandparents once heard wings beating in the night. To outsiders, it's legend. To residents, it's part of identity, woven into the state's cultural fabric, half mascot, half warning from the dark woods of the Barrens. In the winter of 1909, fear moved like the wind through South Jersey. Patrolmen claimed to have seen something, a shape with wings darting between the pines. Farmers refused to go out after dark, and taverns became gathering spots where people traded rumors over coal smoke and hot drink. Among those places was a small roadside inn, Hugg's Tavern. Locals came to escape the bitter cold, yet talk of the creature always found its way to the fire. Then, one frozen evening, as a tired cook tended to closing chores, he noticed movement at the kitchen window. A presence, not outside, but leaning through. Horns scraping the wood, breath like frost. Frozen in terror, he watched as the creature withdrew into the snow once more. That account would become one of the best-known encounters in New Jersey's devil lore. The original Hugg's Tavern is gone now, but locals still gesture toward where it once stood. Within those walls, fact and folklore crossed paths, and a cook story about something peering through a window became immortalized in New Jersey's dark chronicles. What if the Jersey Devil is a case for mistaken identity? Cryptozoologist and field investigator Jacob S. Guerra, known in research circles as the Ropen, has spent more than 26 years studying reports of unidentified creatures across North and South America.
You know, when it comes to the cryptids like the Jersey Devil, it's easily one of my favorites all time. There's something about the legend and the darkness of the Pine Barrens, the centuries of eyewitness accounts, that just never lets go. Over the years, people in South New Jersey have described different variants of this type of creature, and those details change from time to time, story to story. Doesn't seem natural, and some are more biological, tend to be these variants that tell us a lot of what eyewitnesses are describing with what they've seen. Personally, I believe the Jersey Devil could be a pterosaur, a Ropen, something we've been, going after on this network for years and years. Testimonies from the Pine Barrens kind of match that. People describe sounds like a prehistoric creature or a dinosaur relic down to the details.
In his analysis, Guerra believes the description of the Jersey Devil may not stem solely from folklore, but from misidentified natural phenomena. Reviewing eyewitness accounts and the sketches drawn in January 1909, his conclusion points toward a potential chimera, a composite image shaped by fear, retold through generations, and embellished by imagination. Yet he notes distinct features: the wings, tail, and profile, resembling that of a flying reptile, a living relic from the past. In January of 2004, Laura Winkelman and her family in South Jersey found themselves in the center of what many believe was one of the most credible modern sightings of the Jersey Devil. Laura Winkelman and her son Glenn Jr. stepped outside their South Jersey home to turn off a strand of Christmas lights near the tarp-covered area beside the house. In that moment, Glenn looked up and froze. High in a tall tree stood a dark, winged figure watching him. Its eyes glowed red against the night. Terror rooted him to the spot, his mind fixed between flight and horror. Laura caught sight of it and was equally stunned, but instinct took over. She grabbed her son and pulled him toward the door. As they ran, a sudden swoosh of wind passed over them. The creature had taken flight. They barely reached the house when it landed on the roof, its weight thudding across the rafters. By morning, across the snow-covered roof lay a series of distinct prints, 3 toe-like marks pressed inward. Under the sunlight, the impressions looked large and spaced apart. Prints in melting snow can appear larger than life as the ice contracts and edges erode, an effect that can distort measurements taken hours later. Still, they did not fit tracks of any known animal. Guerra examined the photos and believes the marks may have been tridactyl in nature, consistent with those left by a flying reptile, Ropen. However, the stride does not match Ropen anatomy.
As a cloven hoof pattern, but actually what I see maybe is tridactyl. It's really hard to make out, but I know that one of the gentlemen they brought in to investigate this imagery said he did not recognize the tracks. Here we have something that's a little bit more distinct. It looks like 3-toed prints. The other one's not so much. And we have to keep in mind too that when it comes to snow, it tends to melt. It evaporates within the hour. So Next day, it's sunny outside, it's beautiful like today. The snow's melting. This could form. It went from 9 inches by 5 inches to maybe even something bigger at the time. So these pictures really indicate to me that there's something very unnatural that has been seen in this area and that potentially perched on this rooftop. So we have to understand that if this was a pterosaur type creature, there's a problem because the wings come in, they come down. These guys are not land dwellers, okay? This is why they have a better survival rate in the sky. When those wings come down, you see the tip of the wing fold upwards. I'm not seeing any tracks to indicate to me here that that is happening. I see here a very abnormal creature with very strange prints. So what we have here is potentially the best evidence of the Jersey Devil.
For television, a sculpted interpretation of the creature was constructed from the family's description, created by special effects artist Mike Melillo. A living nightmare with reptilian wings, a long neck, and eyes that seemed to glow from within the darkness of the Pine Barrens. The question remains, what did they see in those cold New Jersey nights? A misidentified animal, or something born long before man walked these woods? The footprints, the fear, and the memories still linger in the Pine Barrens. And every so often, when the wind howls through those trees, locals say they hear it again, wings beating overhead, reminding them that the Jersey Devil might not be a legend after all.
We never know when life will test us, when danger will round the corner, when we will be called upon to act with everything on the line. But being prepared gives us the confidence to excel when our whole world hangs in the balance. 511 Tactical. Always be ready.
The RRN Ropen Radio Network is brought to you by 511 Tactical. Always be ready. By Creation Evidence Museum of Texas. God's Word in 6 days. And by the Wildlife Safari, America's top cheetah breeding program. You are closer to Africa than you think.
Up next, Phantoms and Monsters researcher Lon Strickler joins the network to share his insights on the winged fiend phenomena that could potentially have ties to the Jersey Devil and more. Whenever I research something online, the most amazing part is that Phantoms and Monsters always shows up. So it looks like you're getting your money's worth there.
Yeah,
It's working really well as a website
now.
Yeah. I think it's been kind of the go-to for so many people. If we have a subject we're interested in,
Right.
it pops up. It just shows up, and that's great. I mean, that's actually driving a lot more people to this field. So you've done some great work there. You did pique my interest with that first case, that battlefield that you were part of. I mean, that must do a lot to someone who's young. It changes them, makes them think about the world around them. You said you grew up in a conservative home. Christian values?
Well, I was raised as a Lutheran, and I don't follow the church at all now. But it's spiritual work is part of what I do as well. But it's not necessarily on a religious basis. It's what I believe in and what I feel everything is. And, it's something I've been doing for such a long time. It's, the whole faith experience thing, it sneaks its way in there every once in a while. It depends on the case. But for the most part, I use the abilities I have and work the cases. And, I developed some remote viewing skills over the years, been trained and kind of adjusted that, but I use that in my cryptid investigations as well. So it's kind of come all around to where I use a lot of different tools available to me to investigate.
What's your success rate? Have you been able to prove something or anything for that matter?
Well, proof is, that's a relative word.
Loose.
I have, as far as hauntings and stuff, I've done some clearings and all, and we've moved things on. Just depends on the case. And I mean, there have been some cases I have literally worked on for years. But as far as cryptid cases,
yeah,
until we come up with some real physical evidence, it's kind of conjecture to the
mystery.
Point. That's all we can do. If we're just getting anecdotal evidence, we can come up with a lot of theories. But as far as proving anything, it just isn't the case for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with you. We try, but it's really, really difficult, especially when you're dealing with a winged phenomena, which is the subject for this show for my audience today. And this is why I brought you on. This one seems to be a big one for you, I think, because it seems like whenever I turn around or see something online, it's coming from you, and it's about a winged phenomena of some sort or winged menace. And some of those actually, I believe, are more of the natural realm, which would be living pterosaurs. Different subject matter, though. But this one in particular is about winged humanoids. So I got to ask the question, what first drew you to stories of winged humanoids in particular?
Well, I had an encounter in 1988 here in Pennsylvania with something that's very similar to what they're seeing out in the Chicago area. Red-eyed, bat-wing type creature, dark in color, 6 foot in height. There were 2 other witnesses with me at the time. When that happened, it really sparked my interest. Though I did know about the Mothman phenomenon and all that. I wasn't sure if that's what this was, but as time went on and we had more sightings in the area, I became more and more interested in it. So when this thing in Chicago started out in 2011, it really piqued my interest. I didn't know what the people were seeing. And honestly, most other cryptid groups and individuals weren't really interested in it. Even MUFON didn't want anything to do with it. So me and another gentleman got involved with it, started tracking the cases as they were coming in, especially in 2017 when it really the lid blew off of it. We had over 50 sightings that we thought were legitimate just in 2017 alone within a 250-mile radius of Chicago.
Wow.
And it has continued on. And now in the past year and a half, we haven't had any real-time cases, but I'm sure they're still being seen. Right now, we're at 100. I think it's 186 or 187 cases that we feel are legitimate cases that have been reported to us.
In Pennsylvania alone?
No, in the Chicago area. The Chicagoland area, that whole area, that 50-mile radius of downtown Chicago.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
The fact that it's being seen in an urban area and a residential area outside of a large city, or inside a large city, it's a remarkable set of cases, and it's kind of been our bread and butter now for the last 14, 15 years.
Yeah. Give me an example about what people are seeing. Are they seeing more like a humanoid, or are they seeing more like a monster, gargoyle-like?
Well, there's different iterations of these things. Early on, we were getting a lot of the regular wing type beings that had the humanoid body. But as time goes on, and I think there were several of them coming from where they were coming from, I do believe they were interdimensional or ultra-terrestrial beings.
Agree with you. Yeah.
For the most part, the sightings have been 6 to 7 foot in height, very emaciated, slender, dark-colored beings. For the most part, they were bat-like wings like that of a gargoyle or such.
Yeah.
The head was somewhat small, but it had the big, bright red eyes that didn't reflect. They were projecting red light. And it had, many times it was standing and, had arms either attached to the wing or sometimes they weren't attached to the wings. So there were different types, but I guess a lot of that, for the most part, depends on perception by the witness. But honestly,
Agree.
overall, they were pretty similar, each and every one of them. And that's exactly what I saw in 1988. Now, was it something I was driven to because of my sighting or whatever? I don't know. But it does seem sometimes that it's kind of the phenomena I was meant to investigate. And
sure sounds like that.
Continued on since then.
And I do think that John Keel said it best, that this is a spiritual warfare in some sense that we're dealing with. And I do think that you were meant to see it for a reason, and it actually helps point people in the right direction because they come to you and you can help shed some light on their encounter, and hey, they got some closure for themselves.
Yeah.
How important is eyewitness testimony to you, Lon?
Oh, it's the whole thing. I mean, it's especially when they're not trying to pad the sighting with embellishment and such. For the most part, the sightings in and around Chicago, I would the witness would contact me and tell me right off what they saw, and they wouldn't deviate from it. I have even tried to get people to deviate just to see what they embellish on it, to try to make me feel better about looking into it or believing them. And they don't do it. They just don't do it. And that impressed me from the very beginning. So I knew we were dealing with something very unique. And look, these weren't the only place. Chicago wasn't the only place we were getting sightings. We were getting a lot of sightings down in Pasco County, Florida. We had a couple in Ohio around the same period of time. There's always sightings here in Pennsylvania. These winged humanoid sightings. And in fact, South Central Pennsylvania alone, we've had probably about a dozen. And that we know of. But there have been other sightings within the state as well. Stan Gordon and I have been keeping an eye on a lot of that, and we kind of keep in touch with everything that happens in the state.
How do you separate the credible encounters from the misidentification of hoaxes? What kind of methodology do you use for that?
It just depends. Most of the sightings, if they match a bird or a large creature that's native to the area or has been seen flying through the area. And of course, Chicago has a lot of those. They've got a lot of sandhill cranes, and they've got a lot of blue herons and other large birds. And there have been times when people have been able to photograph them, and we could tell right away it was a natural bird. But birds with arms and legs and gargoyle wings and red eyes aren't necessarily something that is indigenous. So, when you get a couple hundred of those coming your way, you know something's going on.
You've probably come across this many times where people may have asked you, hey, why don't you ask this person who saw this thing? Why don't you tell them to take a picture? I'd like to get your personal response from that.
Well, first of all, these sightings have been very fleeting. They're usually less than 10 seconds. And by the time somebody sees one of these things and realizes I've got a phone in my pocket, before they whip that out and try to focus it, it's gone. The strange thing that I have found about these sightings in and around Chicago have been, well, it's twofold or threefold, basically. They're very quick, but they make themselves seen. And it seems to me there have been times when these things have been among a lot of people, and only one or two people would have seen it. Like it had the ability to be seen by certain people. Also, over 50% of the sightings that we have documented are of people who have Hispanic heritages.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe there's a cultural thing involved. There's definitely a pop culture thing, because people have described this thing as being gargoyles or Jeepers Creepers from the movies, and all kinds of different references to something from film or the media or anywhere else, or pop culture. And it's something to know, so that's what they say it looks like. So And you get that in all the cryptid world. People will use what they know to do a description.
Let me come back to your encounter that you had. How old were you when you had this encounter with this winged creature?
I was just getting ready to turn 30. That was 1988, October 1988.
How long did that last for?
It was quick.
Exciting.
Basically, I was told by the people I was with. I knew the one guy. I went to school with him. In fact, he and I used to hang out in the battlefield together when we were kids. And I happened to run into him at a Boy Scout get together down in Timonium outside of Baltimore. And I ran into him. I hadn't seen him in about a dozen years. And we got to talking. So he asked me if we were involved with still involved with the paranormal. And I said, yeah, So, he said, I've got something going on. Me and another scout leader are going to be going up the old Camp Conawago next weekend. It's almost like things fit. I walk into these things, and he said that we're going to be out there looking into something that's been going on and driving some of these scout troops out of the campsites early in the weekends. It was a Friday evening. And we had planned to go out the next day and kind of do some hiking and see if we came up with anything. Maybe we'd see something, maybe not. But, the first night was pretty quiet, though. There was something walking around in the campsite that evening. So we were sitting around the campfire for the most of the evening, just talking football, whatever came to mind. And about 10 o'clock or so, I'd say, and because we were getting ready to call it a night, we heard this screaming sound coming from the west of us. Now, I couldn't really tell what it was because it didn't really seem that horrifying to me. It could have been an animal or anything,
Sure.
But I thought, well, maybe it was an owl or something. But we decided to stay up the rest of the night, So about an hour later, we heard it again, but this time it sounded like a woman screaming. And the weird thing was it was that you could get that Doppler effect, like it was moving around or flying around or whatever. And it really did sound like a woman was screaming for help. It was awful. It shocked us. And so we were ready for something. So we stayed up. I, sitting around talking around the campfire, and I'm getting stiff out there in the cool air. And I stood up. It was about 1 o'clock. I stood up and started stretching. So I walked out onto the trail because we had our campsite and the trail that was beside us. And the trail was in between the Conawago Creek. So I walked out onto the trail, me being intuitive. I had this feeling something was watching us. I didn't see anything. It was very bright that night. The moon was bright. So we could see the creek. We could see into the woods real well. So I went back over there to them and said, look, we're not doing anything. Let's grab our flashlights and go out on the trail, walk up and down, and see if something shows up. So they said, okay. So we grabbed their flashlights back to back to back. They were walking down the trail. And we didn't get more than 50 foot away from the campsite where it enters the trail. And we saw this thing standing in the middle of the creek. Now, the creek was really low that time of year. But we definitely saw it, and we saw the red eyes. And by the time we got our flashlights on this thing, it literally jettisoned itself into the air. It didn't spread wings. I don't know. We don't know how it launched itself, but it moved so fast that we heard it.
I do think these things are being summoned. I do think they're being conjured. A lot of people think they're just having fun playing games, conjuring La Lechuza, which is I think Native American Hispanic.
We've had a lot of these Hispanic witnesses refer to the Lechuzas as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, are these things really connected to the culture itself? It could be, but again, it's part of their culture, and when they see this thing, that's the first thing they think. It's either a Diablo or a Lechuza or something, and that's how they describe it.
Well, I know that it's very clear to me that the power of suggestion can help, plays a big effect into a lot of these things. Let's just say, now some people may not believe this at all, but I do think that when you are dancing to heavy metal music, when you're listening to things that are in some ways very Luciferianism related, it does help to these things do get conjured. They do appear because they come where they're wanted. Now, not everybody's going to agree with this, but I always like to put a biblical spin on everything. And I do believe that these things are coming out of it. I think they're part of the equation. The thing is, do they point to the end times? That's a good question. We don't know for sure. But the bottom line is they're real. I do think they're very real. And they can be very dangerous. So I think people need to be ready to and be prepared when they see something like that. It makes me wonder, too, if when you go out ghost hunting, a lot of people forget to do this, but there was one lady I knew that actually used the name of Jesus, and it actually sent the spirit crying. It actually started shrieking. Hey, there's a lot of power there. So it's like, hey, when you see a winged humanoid, how many have the ability or the strength to actually say something that call
Some
upon the
people
name of the
have.
Lord? I don't know.
No, they have.
They?
Some witnesses have told us that they have done that. Though
Wonderful.
I don't know how much of effect they've had on it, because honestly, they don't stick around long.
No, they move fast.
They do move fast, and they're quick, and the people have literally seen these things manifest and vanish like they're going through an invisible doorway. I've had several see that. So, with all the evidence that we've received over these years, and anecdotal evidence, but very believable, very forward people, I think they're seeing something. And,
definitely.
I do believe it. And, of course, with me having encountered something very similar years before that, I do believe that there is something really to it.
I touched on the subject of the Jersey Devil. That there could be variants of this creature in the Pine Barrens. It could be what we just talked about. I know it's a mishmash of chimera effect, where you have a horse head, things like that. Even the snollygaster could be one of them. And then I look at the Winkelman case. Laura Winkelman, who appeared on Monster Quest back in the day. What she described was very much what we're talking about. Gargoyle-like humanoid figure. It wasn't... What was depicted was not a classic Jersey Devil with a horse head.
And Doug Hijack wasn't going to do that episode.
Oh, he wasn't?
He told me that because he had his own encounter. And he had his encounter like 3 weeks before they started filming that. He refused to do it until he had his encounter.
Interesting. That's something I never heard about until now. Amazing.
Yeah.
So he had an encounter with the Jersey Devil?
He had an encounter with a winged humanoid in Minnesota.
With a winged humanoid.
Near Moose Lake.
In Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah,
so that actually inspired him to do this episode.
Yeah, he told me, he said, they had the people that were, he was working with wanted to do a Mothman, episode, and he refused to do it. He said, I just don't believe it until he had his own encounter. And after he and her had that encounter, he went ahead and did that episode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, we just learned something new.
Man, you do all kinds of stuff in this field. You really do. And
do.
Because actually Doug and I were thinking about doing a series at some point about this stuff in Chicago, but it just didn't iron out. It was around COVID and everything else, and nothing was getting done around there. And so,
I see. Well, Lon, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Ropen Network. Thank you so much for sharing all the knowledge that you have and your personal encounters and your testimony. That does help solidify and does help people to understand what's going on in our world. It's not just what you see every day. There are things in the shadows. There really are things that go bump in the night. And we need more researchers to come forward, step forward, and keep pursuing the truth that has evaded us for a
Oh,
while.
I agree.
But thank you so much for your time.
No
It's been a
problem.
pleasure having you here, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one more thing. One more thing, actually. I know that people can go to Phantoms and Monsters. How else can they find you besides Facebook and Phantoms and Monsters?
Well, Phantoms and Monsters is it's phantomsmonsters.com. That's the website. Then I do a Friday show on YouTube Live every week. And we got a few other things, irons in the fire, and things we're going to be doing eventually. There's a series that may be developed at some point. I'm involved now with Jersey Shore Entertainment and as a writer and as a producer. So hopefully that'll get done this year. We got the funding, so I think we're going to see what happens. But that and a lot of other things. It's hard to tell what's going to happen, because when something new comes up and you get interested in it, you really start concentrating on it. So you never know what's going to show up.
Well, I love the fact that you're a hands-on investigator. You've done some great work, so keep it up. We love seeing it.
I'll try.
Thank you so much, Lon. You have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Join us again next time as we dive deeper into the realm of the unknown. Until then, seek the truth.